Right. Well, that is the story in Beirut. As we continue to cover the breaking news from Lebanon, we also remember what is going on in Gaza. And joining me now is Scott Anderson, the director of UNRWA Affairs in Gaza and the deputy humanitarian coordinator there. And Scott, before we talk about the situation on the ground, you must be keeping bang up to date with what is going on in Lebanon. Your assessment at this point as a humanitarian across what is going on in Gaza, your concerns about what you are seeing coming out of Lebanon at this point.
Yeah, good morning. Thanks for having me on this morning. So in Gaza, as we're coming up now onto a year since the horrible events of October 7th, where we see winter right around the corner. It's already starting to rain, and we're very concerned about what this means for the 1.7 million people that are displaced in the south of Gaza, as well as nearly 500,000 people in the north of Gaza. We don't have enough tents. We don't have enough tarpaulin. We've been in August. 1 million people did not receive food aid from the United Nations, and in September that number went up to 1.4 million. Very concerned about the second winter, what that means. I think people's resilience will be lower just because of the conditions they've been living in for the last year. And we're very concerned that there could be a spread of disease. I think, as everyone knows, polio has been confirmed in Gaza, as has hepatitis A and other diseases. So it's a very dire situation. And then we see what's happened in Lebanon, and our concern is that will distract attention from what's happening here in Gaza, the terrible events that have happened there. And I heard that there's, well over 20% of the population displaced. I know the United Nations is working to respond there, but for me, I'm concerned and focused on what's happening here in Gaza.
Yeah, and we hear from many in Gaza who CNN's producers on the ground have spoken to, who, whilst supporting what they will describe as their friends in Lebanon, they also worry about the attention, the focus moving from Gaza, of course, to Lebanon. I do want our viewers just to get the very latest from one of the UN agencies working on the ground in Lebanon before you and I continue to talk about Gaza. In a statement on Monday, OCHA urged the international community, and I quote here, to urgently promote de-escalation and ensure that all parties respect international humanitarian law while prioritizing immediate humanitarian assistance to the affected people. We reported yesterday $100 million in aid from the UAE, and this comes as the United Nations Agency for Humanitarian Emergencies warns of the devastating impact on civilians of what is this recent escalation in Gaza. You talk about the worry that the focus will shift from Gaza to Lebanon, and that clearly is a very big fear for you. At the same time, there seems to be no evidence of a ceasefire anytime soon. So, to your mind, you've described the winter as approaching. What needs to happen next?
I mean, the most important thing that needs to happen is we need some law and order in Rafah that would allow the United Nations and other members of the international humanitarian community to bring aid in at scale. We have 100,000 metric tons of food waiting either in Egypt, Israel, or Jordan to enter Gaza. We have hundreds of millions of dollars of tents and tarpaulin on the way that people need to protect themselves from the weather in winter. And we need to complete a second round of the polio vaccination to make sure the community is immunized against this horrible disease. So first and foremost, we need security. Second, we need to bring things in at scale. And then third, we need to make sure people get what they need so they have their basic necessities met and they can survive the upcoming winter.
I know that one of the main concerns for agencies is about the further spread of criminality inside of Gaza, and you have alluded to that, manifesting itself as the looting of convoys, which is a real concern. The impact, of course, is that aid does not get to the people who need it most. Scott Anderson in Gaza, thank you.